scene. You've started learning on a platform like Cambly. You open the lesson maybe for the first time with a new tutor. You feel nervous and they throw a link at you. It's called Engoo, Daily News, and they say, pick an article. You don't know what to pick. You see so many different articles. You don't understand some words. It's all a bit overwhelming. There's too much choice. Engoo Daily News is a very popular tool that tutors use on Cambly. So I'm going to talk through what a lesson would be like using Engoo Daily News and what you can do to get the best out of it and how to not feel overwhelmed. So after you've watched this video, you could pick your own articles and go to your lessons prepared. But what if you turn up to a lesson and a tutor says, why don't we look at a news article today, throws you a link and you don't know where to start? The first rule is don't panic. The tutor is there to help you. They're not going to judge you if you need a few minutes at the beginning of the lesson to get familiar with the site and understand what on earth it is you want to do. Some tutors might say, oh, it's fine, I'll just pick an article for you. I wouldn't recommend that. It's your lesson after all, they're not paying for it. It would make much more sense to pick an article that you are interested in and that will benefit your English vocabulary in the way that you want. So let's take it over to Engoo to see what it looks like and where to begin. To start, the main page will be full of recent articles. They put several articles on every day. This is why it's such a good resource because you will never run out of things to read. Pick your level. In the corner there is a level guide. So let's pretend I am a level 7 student. So I've filtered all the articles to level 7 and let's pick a category. You might have a job within technology, so science and technology articles might be interesting to you, or they might be really boring if you don't want to look at something involved in work. I'm going to pick language and education. That's what I do. So let's see what level 7 language and education articles we have today. So, do any of these titles interest me? Yes. Let's have a look at UK faces crisis in language learning. I live in the UK, I'm from the UK, and I teach language learning, so it's quite interesting. Don't worry if you pick an article that you soon realise is too easy or too difficult for you. Your first ever lesson will just help the tutor gauge what level you work at. If it's a little too hard, you can still have a useful discussion on the topic, even if you maybe don't grasp everything. If you're unsure of your level after your initial conversation with the tutor, ask them what level they would put you at. I would always reserve 30 minutes for an Engoo lesson. That gives you 5 minutes at the start to introduce yourself, or if it's a regular tutor you have, ask how they've been, tell them about your week. 5 minutes to select an article and read the relevant vocabulary. 5 to maybe 10 minutes to read the article, and then the remaining 10 or 15 minutes to look at the discussion questions and talk about the article. So once you've picked the article, the first thing to look at is exercise 1, vocabulary. I would recommend, even if you think the vocabulary is easy, still read out the words and their definitions and examples because the tutor can help you with any pronunciation mistakes. And you might find that you have a question about one of the examples, about what it might mean. Once you're happy with the vocabulary, go into the article. Don't be shy about reading it aloud. This is what tutors are there for. If pronunciation is a real sticking point for you, some students have asked me to read the article first to hear my intonation and pronunciation. A tutor would be happy to do that for you too. I would read the article 1 paragraph at a time. They're only short paragraphs, so it isn't a daunting amount to read. If you get stuck with any meanings, ask the tutor at any time. There is no rush in reading the article. Make sure you understand it before you move on. In an article such as this level 7, exercise 3 is the discussion. Questions are being asked about your thoughts on the specific topic in the article. So the first question is often, What are your thoughts on the findings of this study? What are your thoughts on the UK's language learning crisis? What are your thoughts might also be phrased as, what's your opinion? How do you feel? What do you think about this? In a lower level reading article, exercise 3 will be fact check questions, asking about facts within the article to check you have been reading. We know it can be difficult when you're reading in a different language. If you're concentrating too much on your pronunciation, then you might actually lose what you're reading about and lose understanding a little bit. So those fact check questions are helpful to then go into the discussion. But sticking with the level 7 article, exercise 4 is further discussion. This is always my favourite part of the lesson because it broadens the topic. So whereas the first part of the discussion is specifically about the findings in this article, further discussion is about the broader topic. For example, what languages do you think you'd find the most difficult to learn? It's still about the article, but not specifically what the article was finding out. Some articles also have an exercise 5 with a couple of insightful quotes, and again, they just ask, what are your thoughts? What do you make of this statement? Do you agree with this statement? All these kinds of questions encourage a more natural conversation in English, asking for your opinion. It's how we talk to our friends. Whereas obviously when we start learning a language, it's very, hi, how are you? Don't worry if you don't finish the article within the 30-minute lesson. Lots of people stop maybe halfway through the discussion questions or further discussion questions, and not everyone makes it to the quotes at the end. If it's something you're really interested in, you could always take it to your next lesson to complete, or use it as a tool to do some written homework in writing your opinions on the quotes, for example. So now the final step is to breathe. You are on your way to becoming a conversational wizard, having interesting and dynamic conversations with your tutors that you might take to your friends as well who are practicing English. Don't forget that in a platform like Cambly, the tutor can write corrections and you can see those corrections after the lesson. Don't worry about taking notes within the lesson. Ask your tutor at the beginning just to make sure they do make notes, if they can send you corrections, and then you can look at it later on. I hope that gives you more insight into what a Cambly conversational article-based lesson is like. If you haven't tried Cambly before, you can use my code to get a 15-minute free lesson, which is in the description below. Next time I'll be back to my phrasal verbs course. I hope this was useful for you. Please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below if there are any other tips about learning English that you would like to know, and I will see you next time for phrasal verbs.